bitch. I'm fucking infamous.
Welcome to Podcast and Kill. Today we'll be discussing the evolution of the Scream franchise over the last 5 films. The Scream franchise began in 1996 with the release of the first film, which was directed by the horror legend Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson. The film was a massive success both critically and commercially, and it spawned 3 sequels over the next decade. Then in 2011, the franchise was rebooted with Scream 4, and the most recently, a 5th installment was released in 2022. So how has the Scream franchise evolved over the years? Let's take a closer look. The original film, released in 1996, was a game changer for the horror genre. It was self-aware, witty, and cleverly subverted the tropes of the genre. The movie was a massive hit, and it spawned 3 sequels over the next decade. Scream 2 was released in 1997, continued the story of Sidney Prescott, the final girl from the first film. The sequel upped the ante in the terms of body count and the suspense.
Number 1, the body count is always bigger. Number 2, the death scenes are always much more elaborate. More blood, more gore. Carnage, candy. Your core audience just expects it.
And it introduced a host of new characters, including Sidney's college friends and a copycat killer who was mimicking the murders from the first film. Scream 3, released in 2000, took a slightly different approach. The movie was set in Hollywood. It focused on the making of a movie based on the events of the first 2 films. The sequel was criticized for being too self-referential.
Who would want to do that? Sequels suck.
And it didn't quite live up to the expectations set by the first 2 films. Then, after an 11-year hiatus, the franchise was rebooted with Scream 4 in 2011. The movie brought back many of the original cast members, including Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, and David Arquette. The movie also introduced a new group of young characters, including Emma Roberts and Hayden Panettiere. Scream 4 was a critical and commercial success, and it breathed new life into the franchise. And finally, in 2022, we were treated to the latest installment in the series, also titled Scream. The movie brought back the core cast once again and introduced a new group of young characters. The film focused on the legacy of the original killers, and it featured a number of clever twists and turns that kept audiences guessing until the very end. So how has the Scream franchise evolved over the years? Well, it's clever that the series has gone through a number of changes, both in terms of its tone and storytelling. The first 2 films were more straightforward horror movies with a healthy dose of self-awareness and humor thrown in. The third film took a more comedic approach, which wasn't as well received by fans and critics. Then the 4th Scream and the latest installment, the franchise returned to its horror roots, while still retaining the self-awareness and humor that made the first 2 films so successful. These films also focused more on the legacy of the original killers and the impact that their actions had on the characters. Another key difference between the earlier and later Scream films is the way they handle the concept of the final girl. In the first 3 films, Sidney Prescott is the clear protagonist and final girl, while the subsequent films introduced new female leads who were equally capable of surviving the killer's attacks. Overall, the Scream franchise has evolved in many ways over the years. Some of these changes have been successful, while others have been met with mixed reactions. However, the series has remained a fixture of the horror genre for over 25 years, and it's clear that fans continue to be drawn to the clever writing. If you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to leave them down below. That's all I have for now. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.